Hey, salespreneurs, I'm excited to come back to you with another episode. Again, if you're new here, my name's Clay T. I'm the host of the Salespreneur Podcast, all about connecting sales reps turned entrepreneurs via side hustles, buying or building businesses. I am super excited. This is episode number 25. If you want to go and listen to any of the other stories, they've been recorded previously. We have ordinary sales reps who decided to take a bet on themselves and go start a business. Now, today is a little bit different. I want to share about one of my stories, how I made my first dollar online. I'm not an expert here. Obviously, I do all these interviews because I'm trying to learn and make this a part of my story and part of my journey as a current sales rep trying to become an entrepreneur. A little bit of background on me. I've been in sales for 8 years now. I started in door-to-door pushing pest control during college. I then switched into tech sales. I've bought some real estate. I have tried and started a couple businesses. Ultimately, right now, what I'm trying to do is figure out what is my next step. And one of the easiest ways to do that and the cheapest ways to do that is by validating ideas through meeting other entrepreneurs. And so that's what I've been able to do here on the Salespreneur Podcast. And I hope that this helps inspire other people that are going through the same thing. Because in my opinion, I think that most people get into sales because they want to be an entrepreneur, because they're able to take risks. They want to own a number. They want to be able to make more. When I work harder, I make more money. And as a sales rep, you're able to control some of those things. Now, going into entrepreneurship can be really scary because sometimes people get into this lifestyle creep of, I make 150K a year, 250K a year. I go buy a bigger house, a bigger car. We get used to going on family trips and stuff like that. And then you lose sight of what it takes to become an entrepreneur. And so hopefully for those of you listening, you've been able to really challenge some of the thoughts or maybe get new ideas on how you can really make this switch. Now, I think that a lot of power comes into making that first dollar online. If you listen to the last episode with Tom Alamo, he shares how he made his first dollar online. And it was just really cool because there's so many different ways, from community building to selling courses to building an e-commerce brand, to running ads, to consulting. There's so many different ways that you're able to do it. And so hopefully in this show, you're able to hear some of those different ideas. But what I wanted to do was share how I was able to make my first dollar online. And some of the learnings that I had along the way. It wasn't perfect, but it was one of my first experiences. And so I treasure it a lot because I was able to learn from it. Justin Welsh, who's the king of solopreneurship on Twitter, LinkedIn, everywhere. I love the quote that he just says over and over, which is making $1 on the internet changes your entire mindset around building online income. Once you realize that you can make $1, you now know you can make 10. And if you can make 10, you can make 1,000. And so I think one of the challenges I have for those of you listening today is, how can you make $1 online? Is it flipping something on Facebook? Is it flipping something a yard sale, or do you have an audience on a platform that you could sell a product to for $1 or anything like that, right? So that being said, I want to jump into my story about how I made this. We'll make this a really quick episode for you guys today. My first dollar online came from a consulting contract I got after doing one of my tech jobs. And so just a little bit of background, I sold pest control for 3 years. When I first got into tech, I didn't realize that LinkedIn was such a powerful connector. LinkedIn is basically Facebook, but for business owners, or for corporate world, right? So if you want to have a corporate job, you really need to be on LinkedIn because that's how you're going to establish your presence and how you can let other people know about you. And so one of the best things I did in college was I started connecting with tons of people. I would connect with 25 people a week, and especially we're in the tech sales space, and ask them questions. Say, hey, can I hop on a phone call with you? I just want to ask you 3 questions. And then I would start sharing things like when I graduated, or 3 things I learned on my internship. And then when I got hired at a tech startup is when it really took off, because it was early stage. They just raised us to Series A. We were doing under $1 million in revenue, 30 people in total headcount. I was one of the first sales hires at the time, and we blew up. So over 2 years, we 40x had revenue growth. We 10x head growth. We got over 300 people. We were just really booming with this like post-COVID growth. And I shared every single thing that I did along the way. So we sold into restaurants, franchised restaurants. And so I just shared events that I helped hold. I went to big customers that I was working with, how I won the deal, and a lot of these different things. And so not that I was an like expert or an influencer or anything, but I think that because I did that, people became aware. And so if you're ever scared about posting online, whether it's on Twitter or LinkedIn or on YouTube, I think you just have to go for it, because it's all about getting reps, because you can't learn what your voice is if you never write it down and if you never step out of the curtains to perform, right? It's just about sharing, especially even if you're going to write ads or if you want to do any sort of advertising, you have to be able to put yourself out there. And as a salesperson, you do this every single day. And so why wouldn't you do this on some of the biggest platforms that you can get the most reach at, right? You can get a ton of reach with one post on LinkedIn or on Twitter. Like, why would you not just share those? And so the reason I share that is because it's free advertising. I think the future of a lot of businesses is going to be working with people that have these online brands. And so I was able to somewhat do that with my LinkedIn. And so I was at this company for 2 years, and they ended up laying off a third of the sales team. Interest rates were starting to climb back up. The economy was looking bleak. They wanted to be proactive and leaning up their headcount as much as they could. Anyway, I was a manager at the time, and my team got laid off. It was really not fun. I was really sad because we put so much like blood, sweat, and tears into this, and so I'd wrote and really like that experience has helped me lean into this really heavy, which is like salespreneur journey, because I was like, I don't like being dependent on the fact that I put in so much effort into this company, and then they were able to let me and like all these people I care about just go, right? So really lit a fire under me. Anyway, I went and wrote an article on LinkedIn. I said 3 things I learned at a hyper-growth startup. A few weeks later, I had a CEO of a company selling into a similar space who DM'd me on LinkedIn and said, hey, we're expanding our sales team. Looks like your profile aligns with what we're trying to do. Do you have time for a quick phone call? And I was like, whoa, this is really interesting. So this was basically him inbounding me to do some sort of contract consulting work. And I'd never done this. So I actually brought in a VP who I knew that did a lot of this. And we went in on this contract together. He partnered with me as an advisor, and I was being hired to be a remote closer, essentially. And so what most people will tell you, though, and that I've found through doing the podcast, is if you do this kind of contract work, the first one's always a huge learning experience because you have no clue what you're doing. And that was definitely the case for me, where it's like, I knew how to sell to this space of franchise restaurants, and I knew I could build a playbook, but I mean, they didn't even have any account executives. They had a VP of sales who was selling to e-com, and they wanted to branch over. They were doing like e-com and like some other adjacent work, but they wanted to switch into serving hourly workers in the franchise space because there was obviously a big market. And so the goal was to have me sell for them as an account executive kind of on my own terms. But anyway, we set up a contract. I was going to help develop the playbook. I was going to help prospect and close deals, determine pricing, packaging, and kind of help them on the product market fit. And so was my friend who was doing the consulting. I got paid $80 an hour, a 10% commission, and ultimately I was able to book over 20 meetings, drive 250K of pipeline in 4 weeks. I only worked like 65 hours and scraped over 1,000 leads. Now, this was a really good experience because I was able to get my foot in the door on how do I work with these like different startups and everything like that. I think there's a few big learnings that I had taking away from this. The first is just the importance of communication and understanding what exactly do they want you to do, because my impression was that they really wanted me to come in and like show them, hey, here's how I would sell into this space. VP of sales, here's what I did. Here's how I think that you should be working some of these deals, because truly you understand the product 10 times better than me. I can't come in as a remote closer and not learn how to sell your product if you guys don't know how to sell it, right? Because they'd been selling this product to a different industry and they wanted to bring it over to this one. Well, you guys have hundreds and thousands of hours selling this product, but I've never sold it. And so for the expectation to be for me to just come in and day one, close a bunch of deals doesn't make sense, right? And so I think communicating early on is just really important. And then I think the next thing I learned was just doubling down on what works. I could book meetings for them all day, every day. So I should have just doubled down on saying, look, I can book you a lot of meetings, but I don't know how to close them for you, because ultimately I wasn't able to close any of the deals for them, right? Which was not what they were looking for. But I think that really I should have been booking meetings for the VP of sales. So the VP of sales should have been closing them. Like on his experience and like what he had going on, if they really wanted to sell into this franchise space, which like they ended up going into that direction anyway, it should have been me booking meetings for him. Even if I would have taken like less in compensation, I should have like renegotiated the pay so that I could just focus on the outcomes of, hey, I can, if it's $300 to $500 a meeting set or whatever we can figure out that number to be. I wish that I would have pushed for that. And then another learning I had out of this experience was, again, doubling down on what worked, right? I was good at booking the meetings. After this, I ended up taking what I earned and I tried pushing it into some like other online businesses that I was trying to start up, when really like I already had experience working to solve this. I wish I'd have built a case study and said, hey, I did over 200% of quota over at this tech company selling into the space, went to President's Club, built it up to however big the results, right? And then I was able to drive this amount of pipeline in 1 month for this one consultant client. Let me see how I can do this for you, right? I should have built that into a case study and then do it for like 3 other companies. And that probably could have set me up on a salespreneur journey right there, because I'd become very specific in the problem that I was able to solve. And so anyway, it was overall learning how to make that first dollar was really impactful. It built my confidence a lot and being able to take risks and make income outside of my W-2. And even today, I'm still trying to find out what that path is. I think that this would have been a good one to double down on. If this podcast has been super helpful for you, please scroll down to the bottom and leave a 5-star review. That'll help this show grow a lot. And if you have other stories that you'd like to hear, or you'd like to hear from certain people, please DM me. I have my contact info in the show notes. Always easy to get in touch with me. But thanks for tuning in, and I hope to bring more really cool stories, as well as hopefully I can share more of these types of episodes along the way of how my sales to entrepreneurship journey evolves over the next while. I know that this was a bit of a different episode, so if this is interesting to you, I'll try to keep like sprinkling these in, and I'll try to keep sprinkling in updates on ways I'm trying to make income outside of my regular W-2. Thanks, guys.